Good evening and welcome to our second public meeting. I'm Scott Gunning, the Assistant County Administrator, and on behalf of Judge Chris Knopelman, I'd just like to thank you for coming out tonight and sharing your feedback for this great, unique piece of property that we have to develop. So tonight we are taking a hybrid approach by hosting the meeting both in person and also on Zoom, just to give everybody the option of how they want to attend tonight, so with COVID and everything going on. So we're hopeful that the technology cooperates for us tonight, that everybody can hear us and see us. We would ask for everybody on Zoom that you please mute your microphone. And then you're also going to, for questions, please submit them through the chat feature. We do have somebody working the chat and will submit those questions to us. The meeting is also being recorded and will be posted on our website for anybody that cannot attend and watch this at a later date. Once again, as our first meeting, we have with us Gary Wolenzak, David Whitaker, and also Nicole DeNovo from Human Nature, who's facilitating the master plan for us. They've been hard at work over the past couple months, and they've been presenting us some potential options or concepts for your feedback. Now, also speaking of feedback, for everybody that completed the first survey a few months ago, we just want to say thank you. We had over a couple hundred responses that were submitted, a lot of good suggestions that had been incorporated into this process. David's going to be sharing those results with us during his presentation tonight. We do have another survey that we're asking everybody to complete after the presentation. You should be able to find the survey by scanning the QR code on the handout that was passed out, or it will also be posted on our website following tomorrow, correct, Sarah? Tomorrow. So, and then also I just want to point out that the main goal of our meeting tonight is to hear from you. This is your guys' park. So if you have an idea, whether it be big or small, please share it with us. We don't want to look back, a couple months from now or even 5 years from now and say, man, I wish we would have thought of that idea. So please voice your opinion. We want to explore all the options for this property. If for some reason you think of something after tonight's presentation or after you complete the survey, please go ahead and send us an email, call us, and we'll send it over. Make sure that Human Nature gets that and consider all the input on it. All our contact information is once again on our website. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Gary, and Gary Wolenzak, the president of Human Nature. He's going to kick us off tonight.
Great. Thanks, Scott. So I think, Scott, you handled a lot of the logistics that we need to go over tonight. But just to cover a few other things. We're gonna review what we went over briefly in the first meeting, but tonight it's about going over the concepts that the high-level concepts that we've developed. These aren't design plans, if you will. They're high-level concepts. The park, it has many different parts to it, if you will, or rooms, and so these concepts will address each one of those spaces quite differently. When we go through the concepts, we're welcome to have questions about each one because there's a lot packed into these plans. We realize that. So there's going to be a lot of what David says that we want you to absorb. But if there's questions when we go from one concept to the next, please feel free if you're on Zoom to raise your chat hand, and Nicole will be manning those questions. She'll verbalize those as they come in before we move on to the next. So we don't want somebody to get lost between concept 1, 2, 3 and some of the other alternatives that we have. We really want you to think in terms of strengths and weaknesses. It's not about, oh, I like that one. I mean, that would be great, but the process doesn't really yield that. That's not what we expect. As I mentioned, it's a 225-acre piece of property that has just many different parts to it, with separated by topography. So if you like one area, one thing about one concept here and another, but you don't like other parts of that concept, that's the kind of feedback that we want. We want strengths and weaknesses, and really by area, not pick a concept. What we find moving forward is it's the combination of the things that we've shown and bringing those together. It's not just picking one and say go with that. So it's a hybrid of what you'll see. It's a final plan, which would be our next meeting. So Zoom attendees, I think everybody's probably muted and in line, Nicole, is that right? So
Yep.
she's the Zoom master this evening. And I don't think there's anything else. I did want to point out, in addition to our regular staff, is Abby Well she's interned with us, and she's actually an adjacent resident. So she's a landscape architecture student at UK, and she's interning with us, and she worked on some of the plans that you're seeing. So it was nice to make that connection. Thanks for coming. So the QR code, and again, the survey was very successful last time, so we want you to input that way. But you don't have to do it right now. You're welcome to do it right now. There's a QR code that you can even scan on your screen in Zoom, or there's a link here. Or as Scott mentioned, if you go to Kenton County Parks, that website, it's very easy to find, New Kenton County Park, right? So a lot of ways to engage, and we want your input tonight, tomorrow, and over the next 2 weeks. Just a recap of where we are on our process. We go through 3 steps: awareness, exploration, and vision. We're in the exploration phase. So we're exploring a wide range. And we're not saying all these they would be feasible, but whether they're desirable, we want, minimal impact and maximum impact. We want, natural resources, wins the day in this concept, but maybe it's more active recreation as opposed to that. So we really try to stretch those boundaries in the exploration. And as I mentioned, we'll come together in a final meeting, what we call vision, and we'll bring that together in a design, master plan, and let you develop some renderings and tools that help you visualize what that would look like. Just to recap a few things in the public meeting. So from public meeting number 1, you saw this on the, I do want to point out that most of these, so the views and how the topography of the site breaks up into these natural areas of ridges and valleys, the forest, and the community connections are the 3 or 4 things tiled here. Those are included in all the concepts. So in all the concepts, we want to connect to the community. In all the concepts, we're going to work with the topography in the valleys and the ridge tops and the forest. The survey, and we're really appreciative of the feedback that we got. 228 responses, and just real quickly, some of the big responses. We talked about passive active restrooms, of course, but dog park, playground, disc golf, shelters, all the things that you might expect in a park are definitely expected here. Cultural restoration, so community gardens was big. Community apiary, beekeeping, we're space for that. Old barns, farm, log homes, cabins, kind of a restoration of a homestead, working farm, education, pioneer settlement, those were things. And then fell off pretty quickly after that. Types of trails, multi-use, and that would be, you could ride a bike on it, you could walk on it, likely paved. Mountain biking is big. Cross country here is, I think, interpreted to be like high school, the course for running cross country. And then a pump track, which is a skills component of mountain biking. What types of ecological restoration? Pollinator garden, so that could be not just a garden, but it could be a whole meadow as part of a restoration effort, stream restoration, forest. All of these rank pretty high. A lot of the people that have been engaged in this so far have been out there, and they can see those, they can see the forest, they can see where the nature's really taken back the golf course, and I think that's inspiring a lot of people to say, hey, this is pretty nice, let's go in that direction. But in this survey, there were written feedback, and so these are 3% or less out of 228, so there's a few, but we wanted to mention them. Spray grounds, arboretum, amphitheater, fishing, non-paved trails, and a few others. So some common components of all the plans. there'll be an accessible path that would be less than 5%. It would be hard surface so that anyone would have a place to park, get out on this path, and enjoy at least a portion of the site. An asphalt multi-purpose that would likely to be asphalt, so that would be paved. And that would be a reasonable grade. If you've been out there now, some of the cart paths are like, wow, how would I ride my bike on that? It's even tough to walk on. So we would propose alignments that would be a little more conducive to that type of use. Mountain biking would be a dedicated path or course that is unpaved. It might be sculpted to some degree, mostly in some of the ravines and wooded areas, and then natural, which would be just hiking paths that would be identified with mulch or some type of clearing. Site restoration, there's, we've talked about this previously, is invasive species and controlling that. So when you look through a forest, you can actually see into the forest and not just see the honeysuckle. The litter restoration, a lot of the golf course areas could be restored with vegetation. A lot of stream restoration opportunities and wetlands. I'm going to turn it over to David, and please, we can go through these, write down some questions, and after each concept, David will pause, we'll take questions, and then after we get through all three of these, we want to have an open dialogue about all of them, and go through the exercise of strengths and weaknesses of each one. So that's kind of the progression. David?
Thanks, Gary. So like Gary said, I mean, we're really trying to take sort of a 10,000-foot view of the park. So really look at the structure of it and how we organize the various activities within this 225 acres, where it makes sense, and how do we access various areas. Because right now, I can only access where the front ridge line of that station road. So we're looking at how we might get it into the site a little more to allow access to the other ridges, sort of really take advantage of the landscape. So we have three concepts, and the first one we're calling Nature's Gallery, and each one sort of explores a particular sort of theme in a little more detail, explores a range of impacts on the site. And so the first one is really about emphasizing sort of nature for this concept, and really focusing on restoration, education, allowing people to access and learn about the natural and native landscapes here. Also encouraging the installation of maybe public art, large pieces of public art that might relate to nature in some way. Enhancing the streams, enhancing the lake in some ways for access, as well as sort of overall health and well-being of the lake itself. Looking at maybe relocating the maintenance building, which is currently next to the cell phone tower, relocating it further back into the site where it might support not only the current activities, but also the proposed nature center there as well. So it would sort of serve dual roles. And then there will be, of course, pretty intensive trail network for hiking with interpretive elements along that. So this is sort of the overall plan here. This is sort of the big picture view. We're going to snap it into a little closer here. So as you go into, if you're going down Independent Station Road, which is right here, turn into the side. On the right-hand side, you'll see a water feature, calling a water feature gateway. And this is some sort of aerating water feature that pulls water from the lake. And here the lake, or if you want to call it a pond, has been enlarged to increase its capacity. So the water is pulled from that up to this water feature, and it cascades down the hillside, going to a little bog where, again, the water can be cleansed and slowed down. And then from there, it goes from the bog into the lake, sort of helping cleanse the water from the lake and aerate it simultaneously. So it gives you a sense of, as an educational opportunity, to learn about sort of the water cycle and how it can naturally take care of our water assets. So then if you continue to go up here and turn right, there's a series of parking along here. On the left are two dog parks that you can use to alternate usage, so that as one gets worn down, you can close it, open the other one, allow it to be used for a while. The other one sort of is rehab, then switch back and forth, so allows them not to get overused and damaged. Towards the lake, there's this grand staircase, so a lot of people who sit, well, here we go. A lot of people who sit on the steps and also access a large deck overlook on the lake itself. And there also will be accessible path that allow you to walk around the lake this way. At one end, between the bog and the lake itself, we're proposing some sort of sculptural pavilion. Something that really sort of celebrates nature and something, you know, in the vein of number 2 there on the left, the sculptural pavilion, to really create an interesting sort of place to sit and look over the lake and enjoy the view. And there'll also be an outfall from the lake itself that again will allow water to flow down into the ravine below, where you'll be enhancing that ravine with new plantings and everything, again, to help maintain water quality and improve the rural habitat. Continue to go further back here, towards the back, there's going to be a water play and playground zone. There'll be a restroom there. There's also going to be some couple of shelters for parents and caregivers to sit and watch the kids play. Maybe play themselves playground. So we kind of create sort of a nice welcoming split space and high use zone up front. If you go this way towards the left, it's going down a hillside and come up across the stream, go up a hill, and then arrive at the nature center, which is on the second ravine back. Second ridge back. So the nature center will be a place to, again, learn about nature in more detail, and have interpretive displays, presentations there, a library, things like that. Welcome to allow people to learn more about the local ecology. There'll be a pollinator garden on one side, a nature play zone on the other. You can see here in number 3 there with sort of native materials. Kids can play with rocks, boulders, logs, various materials from nature. You can build their own play features as well. Then behind that, we're thinking maybe like a food forest where you would plant a species, tree and shrub species that can be used for food and other things like dyes and other materials. Again, just trying to sort of show how we can use the natural environment, learn from it, and become a valuable asset for us. At the far end here of the parking lot is, again, a couple of shelters here, and then a picnic grove next to that. So you can come here, and after you've gone to the nature center, or before you go into it, you can go there, have something to eat, relax. And then from there, you can go hike on the trails, go mountain biking or whatever. So just trying to create a sort of a nice environment to really engage nature. And then we have some images here on the next page to show some things that happen in this particular concept. We have nature-based artwork, that the big statue there on the upper left from Bernheim Forest example, or other types of artwork as well, so nature-inspired. We do an arboretum on the site to really celebrate local trees, native trees. The water play, that could be more nature-inspired water play, instead of your typical spray ground. It could be more like little streams and things like that kids can play in. And then, as I mentioned, the food forest, where you can learn about the gifts of the forest.
Dave, I don't know, on the previous plan, if you pointed out where the observation tower.
Yes, I did. Sorry about that. So here on the highest point of the site are these wondrous views, 360-degree views. Right now, we're thinking it could be interesting to have an observation tower built up there where you can climb it, get incredible views, but also maybe even see downtown Cincinnati as well. So I think that could be a really interesting feature for this part. So at this point, I'm going to stop because there's a lot going on there. So if you have any questions and any clarifications about things that I've mentioned. Anybody online? Yeah,
I'm thinking about the food forest.
yeah.
How is it intended to be partnered with any kind of like schools, or what are the partnerships to use the gifts of the state?
I mean, it certainly could be partnered with schools. Well, that's a sort of a teaching opportunity, but also kids can learn how to plant and harvest the trees there. So yeah, the schools, certainly universities could do it, and then just the ordinary public could come there and learn about it too, and how the forest could provide food and other materials for it.
I'm just thinking about how the excess surplus material.
Oh, and how it's used.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be used in right. They could have, if if the nature center had like a little kitchenette, it could have like a way to teach people how to cook with a native plant, nuts and things like that. So yeah, I think definitely there's a way of using it, or it could go to, if it's have access, it could be used and processed. We go to people who have need for food sources.
The shelter, were you thinking those be rented out for family functions or whatever?
Not sure about renting at this point, but certainly for use, you could reserve them for, right, as opposed to renting, but it might require renting. It depends on what sort of strategy that the county wants to use to maintain those.
Seems like there's the ones that Kenton County has now, seem like they're always built on the weekend.
Yeah,
All
great,
those would be good.
yeah, great point. We would incorporate those into our current shelter house reservations. That would make sense.
David, how does the artwork enhance the nature experience?
Well, I think it's showing how nature can inspire us and really become attractions, and people come there to the park to see these unique pieces of art. It sort of becomes a way to sort of pull you through the park. As you're walking around, you'll see different pieces of art, and it can become like an art walk in some way. Anything else?
A couple comments about the, how they agree that it addresses kids, dogs, and nature. And it's a really nice design, very well thought out.
Anybody else have a question before we move on?
Do you envision that to be the main parking lot, or?
I think it'll be one of the main parking lots. I think on the previous section here, there's a number of parking up here as well. About 100 cars right there. So
The site really breaks itself into these different
It does,
spaces where you've
doesn't
got
it?
parking with the front ridge, and then you cross that valley, and then it's another whole ridge, which it's not really feasible for people to pack up and hike back there and do a picnic and take the kids. So yeah,
Great.
cars will be accessible back there to get the full use of it.
How big would those golf parks be? 20 acres.
I'm guessing each one is probably at least an acre, if not more than that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one. So the next one we're calling cultural timeline. And what we're exploring here is sort of the impact and the integration of people with the landscape, and in particular over time. So what we're thinking is, well, there's 3 different ridges, maybe use each ridge as a different way to express a different time in history. So the one furthest back would be Native Americans, and then the next one would be pioneer settlement, and then one closest to an independent station would be the more contemporary or modern use of the park. And all of them would be unified by the same building materials, but they might be used in different ways in each area to sort of express that particular theme for that ridge. So like if in Pioneer, you might use stone and wood in a different way than would in the contemporary one or the Native American one. Again, artwork could be scattered throughout as appropriate. We're also proposing an event building of some sort of a small to medium event building that can be used for weddings or community meetings of some sort or corporate retreats and that sort of thing. It's a small facility. And in this one, the existing maintenance building remains where it is, but it is screened from the main parking areas. So as you look at the plan here, whichever screen you're looking at here, you can see that the road network goes way back into the side, all the way through all three ridges. That's to really allow access to the site, and really take advantage of each area more fully. So that's one of the things I think as you're thinking about the strengths and weaknesses of the park is, do you want the road to go back that far or not? So just keep that in mind as we're going forward here. So for the first enlargement here, enlargement A, as you arrive at the park here and go in, you have sort of an intersection here where you can go right. If you go right, that's a parking lot there. You can park, and there's a playground zone there with a restroom building. And then just past it, towards the east here, the multi-purpose field, it could be used for things like tossing frisbee, tossing baseball, football, etc. Just, running around. We're thinking there could be some sort of event promenade at the top of the ridge where you could bring in food trucks, or you have some tents set up for special events that allows a place for sort of civic events to occur there at a variety of scales. Then from there, you can walk down the hillside. There's an amphitheater right here that faces a stage that also doubles as a large shelter. And that stage is a deck overlooking the pond. So if we have a really beautiful backdrop for the stage, have this pond behind you, have the amphitheater on the north side. And again, there's an accessible path around the pond itself here. If you go this direction towards the left, at this intersection, there's again a small parking area there, another restroom, and then a large dog park there with 3 different paddocks for the dogs. Then if you continue down around here across the stream, there could be a beautiful bridge there, like shown in number 3 right here. It's a nice stone bridge. You're crossing the stream. And then you go up, continue and go up towards sort of the Pioneer Settlement Bridge there. And this is like just a small shelter. Enlargement B, we're looking at both the Pioneer Settlement Ridge as well as the Native American one. So as you're coming up the roadway here on the left is the event building that I mentioned previously, where you can park. Again, you're going to have a drop-off area. Have a building here with decks, look out all different directions. There's a garden here that could be used for just sitting quietly or having a wedding there or some event. You continue down this roadway, you're passing these crop fields, and these are meant to show just sort of what sort of crops were grown here historically, to help people understand sort of the history of the area and agriculture in particular, how it helped this area develop. You continue down this drive here, you pass into a parking lot and a drop-off area, and you enter into what's a little pioneer village or settlement, where you have a house, maybe a nice barn, tobacco barn sort of thing, an animal barn as well, maybe an animal yard where you could bring cows or goats and sheep, and maybe have some chickens and that sort of thing. So again, bring kids here and kids will learn about the agricultural history of the area. It's also a zone for beekeeping and also a zone for community gardens. So if the public wanted to rent a garden plot and do some gardening there, you go to a great place to socialize and to share what they know with people who visit the little compound here. If you go over towards the left here and go up to the third ridge, there's a couple of shelters on the right. And then it terminates in a small parking lot where you have a series of shelters, a mountain biking hub, might allow a restroom, place to change clothes possibly, if you get a quick shower or something. And then there's also what we're calling the ethnobotany garden, which is essentially, again, it's sort of like a food forest, but this is more of your perennial plants and shrubs that you learn and things about making things like rope, dyes, and that sort of thing. Learn how Native Americans use local plants to live. So again, just trying to sort of create this sort of cultural timeline, traversing through time and history, get a snapshot of how this area has changed over time. And then here's just some imagery we're thinking. So you have like a themed playground that might relate to the different areas, including maybe like the old station that used to be around here, the train stations, maybe a train theme. Community gardens, you have shelters that represent different areas as well. And beekeeping, and then the enhanced pond could have water features, enhancing aeration, that sort of thing. So a lot going on here. So probably before we move on, I should really ask you any questions about this concept. Any clarifications or questions? Take a quick drink here. Anything, Nicole, on your end? Okay.
Not yet.
All right. If no questions, I'll go ahead and move on to the third option. So this one we're calling recreational hotspot. The goal here was really to maximize recreational opportunities and sort of jam-pack as many things as we could into this plan to really make it an exciting place to be and really become a destination for the park. So what we're trying to do here is in terms of overall organization for the park, right? And the most intense activities at the front, the medium intensity towards the middle, and then towards the back of it, primarily mountain biking and hiking trails. So you sort of have a grading of intensity for the park. Existing mountain maintenance building stays, but it's going to be enhanced as potentially a mountain biking hub. So include again things like restrooms, showers, maybe places to wash off your bike, mud and things like that. And then there'll be some large roof shelters scattered around the side as well. In this scenario, the drive or the road access only goes to the front and middle ridges, unlike the last one we saw. So for the front area, as you arrive off Independence Station Road, you're going to drive by and drive into a large parking lot here. On the left here is a play and spray ground with a restroom, a couple of shelters facing into the ravine, towards the ravine below. To the right here is a large event space with a deck, and you can sit on that deck and enjoy the views of the pond. And then you can walk down from that deck. There's a waterfall that starts at the base of the deck and cascades down towards the pond. You can walk along that and then walk around the pond itself. There are a series of docks there we can access and go fishing and get closer to the water, accessible path around it as well. And one of the features we're playing with right now is what if there was a sort of a kayak slalom course down below the pond where water can recirculate and create some rapids, where you can take a kayak up there, go down, shoot the rapids, and carry it back up, shoot the rapids again, over and over again. Could be sort of a unique feature for this ravine and for this park in particular. So we just want to sort of try that and see what you thought about that. Just trying to maximize recreation and to see what everyone thinks about things. At the end of the parking lot here, when it's a restroom, there's a series of sort of play areas. One's adult fitness. So we have kid playground on one side of the parking lot. We have sort of adult fitness, which could be on climbing walls or climbing features, obstacle courses, things like that. A skate bowl, skateboarders to go. and have some fun. A pump track, which those of you who may not be familiar with a pump track, is basically a skills course for mountain biking. It's relatively small. It has a series of hills and dips and turns, and just working on your control of your mountain bike. And then from there are mountain bike trails that take you out to the rest of the site. And we're thinking that this planner probably had the most mountain biking trails of all. And I think we're, in the next one's just called, I think we were thinking we would possibly get somewhere between 7 and 10 miles of trails if we could do it strategically on the site. Then down in the ravine, in this area right here, we think it would be sort of fun to have some more adventure type recreation activities. So obstacle courses, high ropes and low ropes courses, zip line maybe even, because you have this nice ravine, you can actually zip line across the ravine, which could be sort of fun. There's already an opening there, so why not take advantage of it? So we think that could be sort of a fun thing to have there. Over here on the left, again, a restroom, a dog park, and maybe a walking loop around the dog park with fitness stations where you can do push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, etc., along with other activities. Once you cross the stream here, at the Outdoor Adventure Hub, which will be a place where if you have a vendor who's running the obstacle courses, the agility courses, etc., that's where you pick up your supplies and you pick up the carabiners and that sort of thing you use for the ropes courses. But a nice place to have a restroom as well. So again, a secondary restroom there, and maybe some small concessions potentially. Then as you head back into the middle ridge, we have a couple of options for how the middle ridge is handled. One is it could be a large sort of gold standard disc golf course that's interspersed with hiking trails. Is one option we were thinking of, and then as you can see, the mountain bike trails and hiking trails that go into the back ravines and ridges. But we're thinking that on this one here, the disc golf would be sort of a gold level. It's considered the gold level, which means it has large, long, that's what I'm looking for.
Fairways.
Long fairways for the disc golf. And the difficulty is also increased as well. It's roughly 27 acres, which is a pretty sizable disc golf course. The next alternative for this middle ridge, we're thinking, what if it's more about play fields, sports fields that could be used for things like, soccer, lacrosse, and football. And so as you arrive on top of the hill, there's another drive that takes you to a large parking lot, maybe some pickleball courts here, a restroom building, and then access to 8 sports fields here. And we've also included a disc golf, this sort of purplish area you see on the perimeter. That's much smaller. It's only 13 acres, so they're roughly about half the size of the other one. But it would be sort of considered a white level disc golf. So again, smaller for that, but maybe emphasizing sports fields here. One of the challenges with sports fields here is that it would really require considerable grading, because right now it's quite hilly, and it would require creating flat spots on a quite hilly environment. So, but we wanted to put it out there anyway, again, to test how you feel about having sports fields on this side. Okay. And then here are some present images of things that could go on there. So again, walking loop exercise stations, agility courses, a spray ground for kids, adult fitness opportunities, a pump track, and then a more elaborate playground. It could be a destination playground. So that's the final concept there. Any questions or comments on that?
Can I just emphasize a couple things? And
Sure.
I think you mentioned it on the disc golf being a gold level. I'm not sure what everybody understands what that is, but I think both with the disc golf and mountain biking and kayaking, I mean, we're looking at developing a destination here that is really not in Northern Kentucky, maybe not in greater Cincinnati, that there could be, certainly for the residents, but there could be regional events that bring people in for mountain biking and disc golf. And there could be opportunity for vendors to rent mountain bikes, service mountain bikes, rent kayaks, teach kayaking on the lake or stand-up paddleboard on the lake, things that just aren't available in Kenton County or Northern Kentucky right now. So we're really pushing. I'm not sure we're going to achieve all these things, but we really wanted to put them all in there. You know, a ropes course, there's some examples around Greater Cincinnati. We want to push this to the next level with the ropes course. So that's the idea behind this recreational hotspot, is really make it someplace, a special destination for the county in Northern Kentucky.
David, on Zoom, on the last concept, somebody asked, do both concepts involve car access to the back of the property?
No, not on the recreational one.
Right, so the second concept has it all the way to the back, and that's the only of the three that has it all the way to the back. The other two just go to the second ridge line. Another person said one consideration for this plan is who will care for the crop fields and community gardens. They may become hard to maintain.
Right, that's true. I think the community garden has been being on sort of a rental basis. So people would rent and get their plot and garden there. The larger crop fields, you'd have some sort of advocate or a
Partner,
partnership
champion, yeah.
who can take it on and run the farm or run the settlement there. So it really needs to be sort of a intentional learning opportunity.
And that's true with a lot of these events. I don't think the county's saying, oh yeah, we're gonna do farming, we're gonna do kayaking, we're gonna do ropes and all those things. It's gonna take some partnerships and champions and maybe even some vendors to help achieve this.
Another question is, why do we need a playground or history ridges in an already natural area?
Well, I think it's just we're trying to create opportunities for people to experience nature in their own terms. So my guess is the playground would be a combination of maybe off the shelf, but also nature play could be incorporated into it as well. Maybe a transition from the more intense use areas towards the woods becomes more nature play.
And I think there's some expectation when you say here's a playground, whether it's nature play, maybe it's logs and rocks and things like that, that's a safe place to let your kids explore. And they're not, so it'll probably be contained with some kind of fencing so your kids don't go over into the woods and it's like, oh my God, where are they? So I think that's the distinction between exploring in the woods freely, which that opportunity will be here, but a playground is a safe place that you can observe as a parent and know that your kids will be safe in there.
And two of the three options leave the entire back ridge for nature.
Right.
As well.
Right.
Isn't there a disc golf, or wasn't there a disc golf course further on down the road?
On Lincoln
Lincoln
Ridge,
Ridge, yeah.
adjacent to this, which we will be.
And that's not a
connecting to.
gold standard?
Yeah.
So I've got people that live in Batavia, like all the time, well,
Good.
one other thing that I haven't seen in any of these concepts is like remote control park. These teenagers are going crazy with remote control cars and they've got more of fun. That's what take a whole lot.
Good idea. I think we could easily incorporate that into any of these concepts. We just haven't heard mentioned it until those points. So thank you for that.
That's a great point. Mike, didn't we have a proposal years ago? So Mike Witzer serves on our recreation commission. Yeah. It was the guy who owns the Hobby Villa in Crescent Springs. He proposed, actually at Lincoln Ridge, I think, piece there, that he was gonna set it up and run it. He never came back with a proposal.
An oval course and a road course.
Uh-huh.
It's packed.
Yeah.
Absolutely packed. Just the kids out of the house. Same way with the pump track. I think that's the greatest thing of any of these concepts. Get the kids out of the house.
Right.
The, so I have a question. It looks like on all three that, and at the lower right-hand corner of this one, that there is a trail connection to Lincoln Ridge. It
Yes.
connects the,
Yes, that's the intention.
and then I think I saw a doe hunt as well on the other side.
Right.
Good.
As well as Meadow Glen to the south. So it'd be north through the golf course, across a short section along Richardson Road, and then go up to Lakemont, which has connections to Doe Run.
The other thing I saw, and this is just a question, the other thing I saw was maybe a connection from the clubhouse. We don't expect them to let us
Yes,
go
we
through
do.
there, do we?
yes. And that was part of our first meeting. I kind of glazed over it in this prep because we had so much to go over. But there is a path, an old cart path that went between two courses.
Right.
That's currently there. It's kind of headed off, that you don't go through there now. And the county's willing to, whatever kind of separation we need to do is allow people to go from the park to the clubhouse, so they could go get lunch at the clubhouse. They could use that path to connect to Richardson Road. So that's a real possibility that we've talked about.
I have a couple Zoom questions.
Sure.
Are the trails planned within the park all multi-use, or are there areas for just pedestrians, just mountain biking, and multi-use?
All three. So it would be a multi-use, there would be pedestrian only, and then there'd be mountain bike only,
Separate.
separate.
Did the other two designs have natural hiking trails, or just this last one?
All of them do.
All of them have it.
All of them do. We aren't showing the trails right now because it really requires a lot of thinking for each concept, work with trails. And so once we get this final concept figured out, then we'll know where to put the trails, make it work.
So is the final concept going to be like one or the other? Or it could be-
It's gonna be a combination of them, I guess. It could be an emphasis on one with some parts of the other ones put into it. So that's sort of our goal.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the kayaking and the tower, and you want, the pump track, and that's the kind of feedback that we're gonna go through.
Well, couldn't the tower be incorporated in all three of these?
Yes, that's my point. We want to look
That's
at,
the $1 million view that everybody wants.
we want to talk about kind of element by element, what's the strengths and weaknesses of each one of those, and then we'll weave that together.
I just want to get back to the trails. You said on the last concept, is it 7 or 8?
7 to 10 miles.
Is like they were just talking about having multi-use pedestrian or hiker trails. So, like I really think it's a great idea because I'm really familiar with the Boone Park trail set, and they're very popular. People love them. You could get a lot of people out to the county, like from county to ride. But I never recommend people to hike if you do on them. It gets so crowded.
Right.
I know, ideally,
We don't have those networks worked out, as David said. Those, we'll weave those together. So there will likely be crossings, where pedestrian crossing, but I think we want to try to separate mountain bike and the multi-purpose and hiking.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So are you looking for ideas, strength and weakness? Are you looking for us to just make comments on what we?
Well, we can move into that. I think that,
I have a couple more questions on chat. Has there been any thought about enhancing the disc golf that is currently in Lincoln Ridge, thereby freeing up the space here for other items?
We haven't discussed that yet. I don't know if it's possible or not.
I think it's,
Yeah, I think that's something we can look at. The potential's there. Yeah.
I think there's some
The answer
limitations.
There is. But our goal was to connect, this park to Lincoln Ridge, and the two parks are eventually connected as one. So yeah, we could look at enhancing that.
but there's some challenges where it is on Lincoln Ridge with being on the slopes that it is. And,
It's part of it.
I don't think we're suggesting that would go away, but that would exist as it is. And I think what David has shown is there are some alternatives in the recreation plan other than just golf, because that is maybe a little more flexible. It's around the edge in this one. There could be something else in the middle there, and still have disc golf around the edge. So I think there are alternatives.
Definitely. And I think if we have a connector path that goes from this site to Lincoln Ridge, tie those two systems together easily.
Or if you go with the gold on this one, maybe they don't need Lincoln Ridge anymore and we'll use that for something
Yeah,
else. I mean, those are all
exactly.
things.
Yeah.
Right.
One consideration for the alternative recreation view, which is what you have up, wondering if we have enough fields in the area already, and would this space be better utilized by some of the unique features we see in the other concepts? Which I think is the feedback that we're probably asking for shortly.
Exactly.
All the parks in the county already have sports fields. That was another comment. They're asking you to repeat questions from the audience so they can hear them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
That's it. That's it on Zoom.
All right. Well, I think we're at the point now we're gonna sort of go through each plan and sort of ask you to give us feedback on strengths and weaknesses of each one. So I'm gonna stand up there and take notes and put Post-its up there, and hopefully I'm gonna go ahead and put the plan. I guess one thing I want to go over real quick before we get at that is we want to just show how each concept addressed a wide variety of program elements. And so you can sort of see, based on the feedback we had from the previous meeting, all the different program elements. We tried to incorporate as many as we could into these plans. Didn't get all of them, but I think we got, probably 85% of them. So I think we're hitting most of the check marks on things. So just wanted to show you how we address that. Okay, so we're going to start out with concept one. And this is the nature of this one, so we're asking.
That's their dislikes,
looking at,
weaknesses.
how do you feel about
That's what David
deciding nature education, or is it an artwork, or is it just something else work better for you? So on this one here, what's the particular strength you think of it?
I like the nature.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is kind of the center hub for everything, right? It's the destination, and then from there they branch out.
Now, when you say dog park, do you like the location, the size?
It doesn't matter to me where the dogs.
As long as you have a dog park.
It could be hills, dogs like, my biggest like a drum.
Okay.
No place.
Is there a dog park that comes to mind when you say that you say, oh, it should be like that? Please? Okay,
It's flat, but the hills.
you'd be surprised. I mean, there's a lot of space.
I've never found a whole lot.
Dogs don't need flat necessarily though. Yeah.
Well, to the size, you're saying, the bigger the better. I think an auto arm letter.
Yep.
It might be hard to make them that big. I don't really know.
Right.
But each one of those solutions is better. So,
On Zoom, people are saying nature and trails. They like the focus on nature and trails. They like the dog park, the hiking and paved trails, the arboretum, the pond and bog.
Yeah, I do like that. I like that as well. The way that it's set up there. The
The dog park needs to have more than one open at a time to accommodate big and small dogs. So divide one of those. And they like the area around the pond.
I'm assuming that pond will be available for fishing.
No, the intent would be to continue that.
Yeah,
And
the-
enhance that actually. I mean, if we secure the edges and maybe do some stocking and.
I like the meta.
Anything else stands out on this concept?
Drinks.
out of all communities, I feel like this one has like, lowest maintenance of it. In terms of
Yeah.
Definitely less mowing.
Yeah.
Go to weaknesses? Yeah. So, is there anything that stands out on this plan? Is like, no, this, I never want to see it, on here. Anything that we would say is just a weakness on this plan.
I think access to the back.
Not having access.
Not having access to the back.
Yeah.
Someone's saying the dog park seems smaller on this one than the others.
What else?
Another one saying that there's an opportunity that the meadow seems a little large and it could incorporate other elements from the other designs, like the amphitheater, recreational elements.
Okay. Yes.
In terms of access, also, this one seems like it has at least amount of disability access. Just also.
Where cars and parking go, which would mean that accessible.
Yeah, around the site or else within the site.
So you want to see more, ADA access? Okay.
So one thing that I have about the dog park, as far as location wise goes, you have a lot of those kind of relaxation areas close by, and I'm sure this would be plenty of people who don't want to hear dogs barking when they're trying to relax. You also have that trailhead and those walking paths back to the playground area. I can imagine a lot of dogs are sometimes fence aggressive or going to be very distracted by the people or kids trying to come up and pet or put their hands in. So I think moving those where it's not going to have as much foot traffic.
So separating the dog park from
All
the activity.
You know, Idlewild did that. Over there. They have a separate entrance. You actually don't put past it. Unless you're specifically going there.
Right, yeah, the whole section, it's on section.
Right.
There's no campground.
All county parks close to us.
It would be a totally different program function. Yeah. All right. Move on.
Hold on, I have a few more. The natural meadow could show off butterflies, other pollinators, but they need to have a meadow trail. So
Okay.
not clearly shown, I guess. Hope the plants and shrubs will focus on bringing the pollinators back to independence. They like that this one keeps cars at the front. So I guess that would be a strength. The weakness is the back part of the area doesn't seem to be used.
So the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
Yeah.
I would like to see trails through the native tree arboretum. I think we've covered almost everything that people have said about this one.
Anything else before we move on to the next?
The tower, right?
Okay,
It's not on this one, but
it could
be
be.
a strength on the next one and a weakness for when it's not there, but
Okay. So you like the tower?
like the tower. I'd like to see the tower. Yeah, that's right.
So add tower as a weakness? Okay.
Or
Add tower.
no tower as a weakness. On this
A
one.
double.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So concept number two, the cultural timeline. So this is the different periods from Native American to the cultural, the homestead, if you will, farming homestead. Some of the more active on the fourth independent station. So what are the strengths of this concept? Components of this concept?
I like the shelter stage. I like
Shelter stage.
At the pond?
at the pond, yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. I think it'll be used.
The amphitheater.
Yeah, I think we had that in the next one as well, right?
Mhm.
Say the historical zones are definitely strength.
They like the event promenade where you could possibly pull up food trucks.
Okay.
Another thing about the tower, somebody commented that they always use, and I'm assuming they're referring to the cell tower to navigate. So if you have another sort of observation tower, I guess when you're hiking, it would help people to navigate. Yeah.
Okay. What else? What are some of the strengths that you see in this plan, that whether it's in this plan or whether it's incorporated into another plan? What are some of the other elements? We've got some commonalities with, disc golf, but it's in a different location here. It's up towards, and it's on the south end in Defense Station Road. The dog park. Playgrounds incorporated. A lot of the similar elements, but they're in different locations in this concept.
What about the motorway going all the way to the side? Is that a good thing or a bad?
To the third, yes. Accessing
Yeah.
it, getting vehicles
More
back
people
there.
access.
Okay.
You know, if you decide to make the back bridge something just mountain biking or just, you actually pull some of the traffic and
Activity,
yeah,
spread that out.
for that reason. People down there for that.
Yeah, good use of the entire property is what someone just typed.
And it's okay, to say that's a weakness too. If you don't like the fact that it's one way to the back, please let us know that as well. So, we get that all the time.
Somebody likes the dog park location if it allows it to be a little bigger.
Also look at the dog park, disc golf. Take the dog park, turn that into a remote control park.
What else? I like the event building.
The idea of it, the location of it,
The event building.
Yeah, I mean, it almost, is there one on the front side there by the promenade, or is that?
That's just, that shelter there. Event building's about the mid-side for that.
which that, and that's, we had a tower in that location on the previous concept. If you're back at that point, it's really pretty back, I mean, you're pretty much removed from suburban.
Right.
And you're looking out over a beautiful golf course in one direction, beautiful park, so it's really a pretty prominent location. That's why, even though it's pushed up against the park boundary, we're gonna share the views of the golf course.
Go ahead and go on for weaknesses.
Yeah, whatever the weeks.
Rock fields.
Fields.
Yeah, can you talk about it a little more? I'm not familiar with that.
Well, that's what, if we're creating a pioneer homestead, if you will, they're gonna have small plots of different crops. It might be corn, it might be whatever would have been that period and managed through that progression of, prepping, seeding, caring for, harvesting, that from an educational standpoint. Public.
This one seems to take them to maintain it, something like that. Which I understand the concept, but I wonder if it's better served with educational plaques about, like a timeline walk or something like that around one of the trails, right? Instead of an entire village, that requires a lot more maintenance and someone to manage.
So the disc golf course right now, whatever, I think, That small discourse with duplicating services.
You mean that this is too small here?
Yes.
Okay,
It's duplicating the one that's in Lincoln Ridge. Is
so go
what you're
for the
saying.
goal.
The crop fields are a theme on Zoom too, unless they're community gardens, they said. But there's not enough recreational activities in this option.
Okay.
The crop fields seem to take up too much space.
Okay.
Sort of space, I think that it also, there's a lot of the activities that are spread out a lot in this. I think it goes a lot of space to parking. I think there's a lot of those. Okay.
We haven't got to parking counts, you know, the more active, you know, like an event. The event phase is, you know, a small box, but you know, potentially have 200 people in their capacity to park.
Yeah.
So,
Somebody mentioned crop fields are high maintenance. Is that already up there? They prefer the emphasis on nature rather than historical elements. There's a few people that have said that. There's not enough trails with this option.
not enough trails. Okay. Anything else?
In the middle where the village would be, is that an area that's already cleared out?
There's some, you know, it's kind of separated a little bit by grade. It's not totally flat, but there are some areas of trees down the middle, but generally
I think
they're pretty open.
Yeah, I think I know exactly where it is.
There's no,
Someone is not a fan of the pioneer settlement in general.
You're recording that's recording all those comments as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else about this? Pros, cons, and different before we move on to the third concept. The third concept has a couple alternatives to it as well. So the recreational hotspot, again, we're really trying to push the limits. We think the kayak thing would be awesome. We're not sure how we built that yet, but you know, we think there's space for it, and if there's a desire to do that, we'll find a way to do that. What do you think? What are the strengths of the recreational hotspot? What did we get right?
I think I call that first section kayak, you know, with the amphitheater and everything else, kind of the front door, and that's an awesome looking front door.
Okay.
Right, I don't know how you put that straight there, would you, right?
No, it is. Yeah. Right.
Somebody else just said that the kayak concept is cool, but it's too small. It would be hard to pull a kayak to start again.
And we'll dig. I mean, if that's a concept that moves forward, we'll get into a little more of the technical requirements of that.
Good use of the entire park.
Other strengths. All parks in similar locations to previous.
The skate bowl is a strength, David.
Okay, that's unique to this concept. Yes.
I like the large disc.
The larger disc golf.
Nicole, what are they typing in?
Less types this time around.
Yeah, this one brings several events or areas that will be unique to this park. They're not another. Like you.
Yeah, we had one comment from a group that, a mother who said, you know, I don't mountain bike, I'm not kayak. If I could take my kids to a place where they could be exposed to that, because I'm probably not gonna take them to take them, because I don't do it. So I thought that was kind of an interesting concept. We put all this in there and you've got vendors that are, and other people are doing that, then kids could, I want to do that. I want to try that. Then they kind of learn a new skill or a new sport.
Dog park and outdoor adventure.
With the cross-country course, I guess, would it be dedicated for that, or would it be incorporated with some of the other trails?
Well, it's seasonal in the fall, and so, of course, it could be used in pathways and, don't know if it's just for meets or if it's for practice, but it would be used fairly infrequently. So, it certainly could be used for hiking. It needs to be, ideally, would be grass that gets mowed. So it could be in a meadow, it could be a lot of other of interest to hike.
I think this concept pushes more children, kids, young adults towards this concept than anything else.
And
More
that's,
active recreation.
that's strength.
So version 1 of this, with the disc golf and the hiking trail, actually gives multi-purpose, multi-use to that, where you have people doing several things in the area at one time.
In that middle,
Yeah,
that middle ridge.
if you compare it to the fields, then they're pretty much exclusive, right? So you're saying, all right, you've got 2 teams or whatever using that area, and that's it, right? So version 1, I prefer better than version 2.
Someone else just typed that it's too many recreational sports fields, but some of them would be nice. I don't feel like there should be sports fields at this park. Another strength is the mountain bike trails, but they're not a fan of the kayak. Question is, who monitors the outdoor adventure hub? Seems dangerous to leave open to the public.
Well, I think it's, a ropes course would be, it would be run likely by a vendor, but it would only be open certain hours for use, and then it would be inaccessible to the general public other times for that reason.
Is there area?
Zip line?
That is a thought, yes, to be incorporated with the ropes.
I don't see it.
I think there might be a note in the enlargement that slice through the forest, where there'd be ropes and incorporated zip line.
Is there an area for family picnics?
Yes, there is. Maybe not as many as the. as
Yeah, previous
when you look
plans,
at
that it might be a weakness of this concept then.
the shelter
Yeah,
as a hub for family picnics. There's less shelters. It's
Mhm.
not to say there couldn't be more.
no sports fields. That was a couple comments, actually. That's like 4 or 5 people. If you want to write that down, 4 or 5 times. They're all over the county. There's too many already.
What did I hear wrong? You said it as a weakness.
Well, for this concept, what we're hearing in ×5 was it's too many for this site.
They need too much parking for crowds, and all the parks already have them, is what people are saying.
Other strengths. Or weaknesses. We're rolling, we can handle both.
Remote control tracks.
Okay. That would be enacted.
No campground.
No campground.
No. Honestly, those lines are kind of placeholders. We've not described where they are. So, we talked, I think somebody mentioned this is going to get the kids in, right? So, what about other segments of the population? Are we?
It's got an adult fitness too, correct?
Yes.
Right.
The intent around the dog park was adult fitness with, stops along the way.
Any strengths or weaknesses about concept 3? Do we need to call up those other margins in the middle? Sure.
It's back. Yeah. That one.
So primarily disc golf with some trails through it, sports fields, or a combination, or something entirely different. That space in that middle ridge, I mean, it's expansive. It's a big site. So. Okay.
So even though each site has their, different locations, when it comes time to put the trails together, assuming that just topography is going to work out, hey, this is going to be everyone use level 1, this is going to be a level 3, and then in the back with the hills, you've got different, right? Yeah. So that's probably why you don't have the trails on here, right? Because they kind of work.
Yeah,
around
we're working
everything
with
else.
big spaces right now. And once we
Got
get
it.
those big ideas and big spaces work, then we can start to weave the other
Things to it.
flexible components.
Okay. I do like pickleball courts. That's something that's, again, not in any other park we have, and I'm extremely popular.
They're growing.
They are.
Independence, I think, is going to pull through around. So,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
very popular.
I walk down Smell Park, and they have something there every day at lunch.
Mike, just so you know too, so Richardson Road, there's 5 tennis courts, we're gonna convert at least 1 or 2 of those to pickleball courts in the next year, so that is close by this area.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so
Good. Did we just in all 3 of these, is there an idea other than not developing the camping? Or did we miss any in any of these? That was like, I never heard you mention this. It's something that would be just incredible. I want to miss anything. We want to get it all on here, and then we'll sort through what's going to, fit together.
yeah. So on number 2, I don't know if I guess weakness. Around the lake, if you have the kayaking on flat water, what you do is you approach on the fishing. So you gotta be careful,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Some of them might be timing,
Right.
just like, you're not going to go throw frisbee in a
Yeah.
soccer field when there's program, games going on, but it's probably pretty open a lot of times to do something like that. So,
True.
Was there any thought of building another pond like one of those ravines? There is a pond. Those ravines, there's a lot of trees, but they're so steep.
Yeah.
It's hard to make trails on.
Yeah. We haven't explored that. Not that we couldn't. I think there's, that's something. I know if we do the kayak, and I don't have I don't think it's gallons per minute, it's feet per second that you measure that flows by. There's got to be a place down the bottom for all that water. We turn off, so. That's no problem.
Did I hear you mention that the stream's running through it? We're gonna clear some of that, make that, or we can do anything with the streams that run through it? I'd like to see maybe access to it or
Now, which part are you?
any part.
Well, I mean, are you talking about like? the
Stream
sidewalk?
restoration?
No, yeah. So maybe that was under the
Just-
stream restoration.
Just through the park,
Yeah,
there is several thousand feet that we've identified as potential stream restoration. We were a little surprised when we really dug in and hiked and analyzed the site of how much it was altered for the golf course.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of little tributaries to stream and streams that, it was a culvert because that became a fairway. So there's a lot of big opportunity for that, for stream restoration. Good.
Isn't there a stream just east of the lake?
There is a stream obviously coming out of the lake. There's probably 3 different tributaries.
I think that stream is not, I'm not sure if the blue line,
Maybe drive.
Yes.
See,
My tee shot from 17 out. It was about this wide.
yeah.
Put a shot glass out there, my tee shot was fine.
so there, you can see there's 3 main,
Yeah.
up at mountain biking, and then on the north end, and the middle ridge has got the longest section.
There used to be a stream right here.
Yeah, but it outfalls from the pond. Yeah, and it goes behind Lincoln Ridge and then joins up, yeah. That's still there.
So seasonal stream or the?
Yeah, most of this watershed originates, it doesn't go past the Turkey Foot Road. It even goes that far, so it's a pretty contained, most of it is golf course of this side. So
Probably not a lot of water.
no,
There's a comment that they hope the park maintains some nature elements, unlike our other parks, which are more sports playground oriented. Somebody went to beach volleyball courts.
that's the Olympic influence, right?
And pickleball, it's unique. Also suggests if there's strong preference for mountain biking, could leverage Doe Run for this. Really like concept 1 the best with the inclusion of the amphitheater, event platform, and recreational activities like kayaking, ropes, and pickleball. So that person's kind of combining
Yeah.
1 and 3 a little bit.
Right.
They also appreciate the thought on the connections to Lakemont, Turkey Foot Road, and other connection points to make this accessible by bike or on foot. They love the stream restoration idea. And unique features that are not in other parks to attract people and encourage citizens to visit all the parks in the county.
What was that bike connection to Doe Run across the road?
We would have to cross Richardson Road at an intersection with street that there.
Right there at Lakemont.
Well, I think I was gonna cross before Lakemont. I could cross at Lakemont, but it gets really tight.
By Narrows right there, is it?
Maybe, I think it might have been Narrows Road to get across. So it would be at one of those intersections. So, it'd be a signal, not signalized, but a pedestrian crossing well identified for that one crossing. Across Richardson. Anything else?
I'd be curious to see if you had to pick a favorite or a combination of 2 of them, what would be your selection? 3. Okay. I like 1 a lot. 1, okay. Me too. Okay.
I like the combination of certain features in one bathroom.
Do you think we've called those features out enough in our strengths to be able to mix it up and?
If you carved out the center of 2, village.
Remove them,
I like them all. Replace the center with,
one of the other concepts. That's called.
good input.
Hopefully this process work and thanks for coming in person. And it's like, there's advantages to this virtual stuff, right? It's great that people are able to log on quickly and have the fact that whatever they're gonna do for the evening. it's good to see some faces. Sure business like that.
And please take the QR code with you and the Survey Monkey link. Fill that out,
So we're gonna,
pass it to friends.
Yeah, please pass it to friends, people that, attend, that go to the park, there's interest groups, please pass it to them. Let them know about it.
and so this video of the Zoom, this tonight's meeting will also be online. So you can recreate this whole explanation and then fill out your survey. So someone doesn't have to be on Zoom or be here tonight, send it out to friends and they can get that full kind of explanation and then it's critical. All right.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your feedback.
Good job.
Thank you.
Scott.